Welcome back, gang. It's D to the G. DoT from DoT is Gaming. Back. Burning Butcher. So we did the Brutal Butcher, and this is the other stamina side of the damage over time heavy effect stamina decay. What we did is we switched out the two-hander for a bow, Scorched Earth, Maelstrom bow, and it's doing a lot more damage. The same premises apply, ... Goose, but this time it does a lot more damage thanks to the Maelstrom weapons. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to go over gear first, and the reason why is it determines why we changed this build the way that we did. And really the only things that we changed, you can still use Hunding's Rage, you can still use Scoria, or you can use other sets. Scoria doesn't do that much damage now, so you can use a lot of different combos. You can use one Blood Spawn, you can use one Molag Kina, so that gives you regen and a little more weapon damage. You can use two sets Night Silence for more max stamina, or Night Mothers for more crit, a bunch of different things. And there's actually a little trick with Spawn of Mephalia I'll show you a little bit later. I still want to keep it Scoria just because I like it for nostalgic reasons, and it can still do good damage, though it's not the top performing. So we still use Agility, still use Hunding's Rage, still use Scoria. The weapons have changed. Yes, they have. Maelstrom Dagger and one Maelstrom Axe. Now, we're using these. You want Precise as a trait if you can get it. And the reason we're using the Axe is because it applies that dot. So if you go to Dual Wields, where's a little passive here? Twin, Blade, and Blunt. Each axe gives your melee attack an 8% chance to bleed an enemy for physical damage over 6 seconds. So one axe will give you that little bit of chance when you're light weaving or heavy weaving in between. So we got those, and if you read this, it comes with an incredibly powerful thing. Your flurry grants an additional weapon and spell damage on the next single target damage over time effect within 4 seconds. Yeah, 3,000. So it's incredible. So what you're doing is you're using Rapid Strikes, the Morph of Flurry, which is over here, on your dual wield bar. So you're basically using that as your single target ability, weaving them in between applying your dots. So the dot that we switched out in this build is Rending Slash. So we were using Burning Breath. Now Burning Breath's great. It gives you Major Fractile, which is a physical resistance, but typically tanks are going to do this anyways. Plus it's a little bit higher cost. It doesn't do as much damage as Rending Slash, and it costs more stamina. So for pure single target, Rending Slash is great. Also, Unstable Flame, you know it, you love it. It does a lot of damage. You want for this dot to fall off. A second later, you're going to recast it. Because remember, it scales up, doing more damage. This thing can tick for 11,000 damage a second at the end of its duration. And look, it costs nothing. 697 stamina. Uh-oh, who's fighting us? Come here, you little Spriggan. Let me show you this. See how my hands glow up? That's that Maelstrom effect. Oh, they died in my Scorched Earth. 7.6k just for using the attack on Unstable Flame after you're using that Maelstrom weapon. So it is pretty incredible, the upside of this, due to the Maelstrom weapons. So you're going to weave that in between just like that. So what I like to do is do a Rapid Strikes Unstable, Rapid Strikes Rending. So they're both getting that buff. So that's how you use it. And then Steel Tornado is your AoE ability. Flames of Oblivion gives us the crit buff. That does a lot of damage. Though you have to be wary if you're doing the Evil Hunter or you're fighting against mobs that are Daedra. You need Evil Hunter. Whether you swap it in, put it on another ability in place of it, you need this. It will do a lot of damage. Flawless Dawnbreaker, extra weapon damage is what we need here on this. So just, you know we're going to do Standard of Might in the back bar. You know we're doing Standard of Might. And that's how we use it. So this is single target plus one AoE ability. Now the bow, why we went with the bow instead of two-hander? It gives us a little advantage and a little disadvantage. The advantage of bow is the Maelstrom bow now has the volley. Extra damage per tick, increasing your weapon damage for having it equipped. Volley is the awesome ability everyone's using now. We're taking Scorched Earth. Since it's flame-based, we're a Dunmer Dragonknight, gives us a lot more damage. It's AoE, and it's a fantastic single target ability, and it doesn't cost that much stamina. Plus, it lasts about 14 seconds or so, so you're going to maintain this dot. There's a lot of dots to maintain, a lot of bar swaps. It's not the easiest thing to play. It really is not, but it's effective. And so those are the changes that we did with the Maelstrom weapons and our skills. A couple other things here is we're going to get to more of what we use with this slot. Igneous Shields is about survival. But for pure damage, igneous weapons, you can't beat it. I'm going to show you how to use this in the back end of the video, where you can basically maintain it 100% of the time without recasting it, doing this heavy weave trick. Flames of Oblivion are back bar, so it doesn't turn on and off. Razor Caltrops, the Juggernaut of AoE dots, and then Resolving Vigor. Resolving Vigor, a self-heal. So this build is designed to survive and be able to do trials, dungeons, veteran Maelstrom Arena, anything. So it's not dependent on a healer 100%. So you can swap in some other things to be dependent on a healer and do more damage. I mean, like I said earlier, you could do igneous weapons. And the Fighter's Guild, you can even run Trap Beast and do that before the start of a round. There's a lot of different things you can run to make it even more damage, but you lose the survivability when you do that. So I like to keep it this way. Standard Might, what is there to say about this? I mean, more damage reduction, and it just, I mean, fries everything with this build. And so that's really how you play it. And I'm going to show you how to basically use the abilities on a boss a little bit later. And that's kind of the build that we went with. Now, the thing to realize is, since you do not have two-hander, you're not using momentum. That's obvious. That's what gives you the major brutality. So you're more reliant upon potions. It's more expensive, but it's fantastic for play. So if you look here, potion cooldown is 45 seconds. The VR5 ones only last 40 seconds, and that's if you have the medicinal use passive and your alchemy. That's why I level alchemy to 50 on all my characters. So if you have the VR15 or the VR10 potions, however, they last beyond the potion cooldown, giving you basically a 100% uptime on major brutality. He also has the crit major savagery as well, which you can use, but the ultra expensive but really fun potions are the Panacea of Speed. So it gives us major brutality, which is exactly what we need. It gives us speed for 40 seconds and restores stamina. Though they're a lot more expensive to use, these are the ideal potions that you want to use. And so for pure PvE purposes, you're going to go max stam, max health food. Now when I do Veteran Maelstrom Arena and I'm struggling a little bit on resources, I'll use this. But really, for pure damage, you can't be 5,000 extra stamina. And your abilities don't cost a whole lot. So you're not going to run out of stamina like you would with other builds, because you're just using 2 dots that cost 600 stamina each, really, and you can maintain that forever. Considering you use a banner, you're getting all your resources back on top of a potion. You're not running out of resources. And so this is basically the build. We didn't change a whole lot. It still works, but it just works a lot better now, and that's due to the Maelstrom weapons. This build still works very well without the Maelstrom weapons, but if you have them, it's going to kick booty. So let me explain the skills a little bit more than I do in previous videos to give you an idea of how to actually use this and fine-tune your DPS to rip and grip. Alright gang, so we're going to show you how to play this build here, down here in the little Wayrest non-bet dungeon with our little alligator friend who has about 700k HP. Okay, so the very first couple things you want to do is throw your Razor Caltrops down in your Scorched Earth. Those are your ground effects. One's 30 seconds, so I start with Razor first, then Scorched Earth. Now, depending on a couple things, you got a couple buffs that can, usually Dragonknight tanks will run, which is one is an Earth and Heart ability to get you the 5% damage. Now, you need to cast this if there's no one else that's going to cast this. And I start with the Igneous Shields. But you notice if you do Igneous Shields outside of combat, you're not getting that minor weapon damage buff. So you need to actually hit the target first. Usually I'll throw a Caltrop, Scorched Earth, then Igneous. That will register it to get that 5%. Also, the other morph of Burning Breath is going to give major, is going to get that little boost in flame damage. So Engulfing Flame. Usually you want your tank to run those things, and also he's going to run, the tank should be running Pierced Armor. So why is Pierced Armor a good thing? Well, it gives you the major fractile. So that's another reason we're not going to be running Burning Breath, and we're going to be running Rending Slash over that. Okay, so we'll just practice like we're just going to do this here. So Razor Caltrops, Scorched Earth, 1 light attack, and then my minor brutality. I start with an unstable, Rending Slash, and then about 2 to 3 rapid strikes, and then Scorched Earth will dissipate. Once that's done, I put it back down. And I'm not using my weapon power potion just because I want to save my money. And that's kind of all you're doing. After you reapply those dots, you're about 2 to 3. Reapply that. And go. Alright, so let's pull away here. Don't die on me. Oh, don't die. Don't die. But he's going to die to my dots. Hey, that's a good thing, right? So that's how you do that. Now you want to start, obviously, with the potion. The potion is going to give you the major brutality, which you're lacking with this build. And 47 seconds is the cooldown on the VR15, and it lasts 45 seconds, your potion cooldown. So basically, you can have this up at all times. But you need to start the fight with it. You're going to get 20% more damage on top of your 5% more with your Manner of Brutality. Now let's do a full burn on this little crocodile boss and kill it with my banner and a warhorn and a potion up, just to show you the potential of it. Ready? Let's go. Potion. Caltrops. Earth and Heart right there. Warhorn. Unstable. Banner. About 2 to 3. We're going to reapply our Scorched Earth. Bar swap. Unstable. Rending. And we got to the 30,000 DPS mark. Now it's 20 seconds. It's not that complicated. But the thing can do a monster amount of damage. More than like pretty much any other build that I have right now, and it's pretty simple. Now you can swap Valkynscoria out for something else because it actually doesn't do that much damage. 2.6%. You might be better off with Crit, Night Silence set, Mephalia set, and some other things. But just so you know, you can use that. I like it. It looks cool. It's fun. But look at our number 1 source of damage. Rapid Strike's out of it, but look at number 2, Scorched Earth, 17.5%. That is a ridiculous amount. It's ticking for 5k. Unstable Flame, max was 11k damage over time effect. Now that scales up. And look at Running Slash, 10k dot. So really, you're just going through and cycling your damage over time effects. And look at the cost of these abilities. This is nothing to do. Single target wise, this is 686 stamina. This is 697. And I have how much stamina? 31,000 as a Dunmer. That'd be a lot more if you're playing another build. I did go a little bit higher HP for Vet Maelstrom Arena. So you're not running out of stamina any time, though it is complicated. So just to go over it again, Razor, Scorched, Earth and Heart, Rapid, Unstable, Rapid, Rending, Rapid, 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 back, Scorched Earth. Then you're going to go back, Rapid, Unstable, Rapid, Rending, couple, dun, dun, dun. 30 seconds will be up this time. Now you're going to go Razor and Scorched Earth, Earth and Heart, same on, so forth. And you're going to use Weapon Power Potions. Because look at my stats when I use Weapon Power Potion. And the Earth and Heart, 4k weapon damage with the Shadow Mundus Stone. That's a lot. Almost 60% weapon critical, though I could use a little bit more stamina. So that's kind of how I operate this build. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to survive on this build. Whether you're playing solo, in a group, you need to know how to survive on whatever you're playing. So the very first defensive thing you can do is speed. On your bow bar, if you dodge roll with the hasty retreat, look how much speed. That's going to be your creating distance ability. You get that once every 4 seconds. You don't want to keep on casting it because you will run out of stamina with the stamina change. But that's how you're going to get away. So if you're going to come and face tank this guy, your very first ability you'll want to cast is Igneous Shields. It's a damage shield, and also what's it going to give us? More healing received. So right there, I cast that into a Vigor, and Vigor's almost 5k. Almost 5k a second with the crit. So that's what we're going to use as our escape tool / using that. Now the downside about this build is you have to use weapon power potions for damage, right? So you can't use potions for health. So you're going to use excessive magic, Vigor, dodge roll, escape, wait till your health's back up, and then re-attack the target. And that's how I survive, basically, on this build. Alright, so I wanted to show you an advanced thing that people are doing having success. It's a little bit tricky, but you can do it. If you didn't watch my video with Gil, my friend Gil the Rogue, talking about weaving heavy attacks, using a little special set, actually Spawnomophalia, is actually pretty good for DKs with weaving. A lot of people are having success with it. And what you're doing is holding down your heavy attack to the right moment, and then you actually press your rapid strikes button. What this does is it cuts some time off the whole heavy attack, and it registers as a full heavy attack. You get stamina back, and it can proc this set. Usually you can keep it up for about 100% if you're doing it exactly right, though it's really, really, really hard to master. So I'm going to give you a little preview of this for people that want a little more advanced build. Okay, so we're going to have him tank it, and I'm going to try to do my best to show you this. Okay, so what you do is hold a heavy, and that procs that set. You see that folias, the little webs, which are in Flames of Oblivion off. That does about 1,000 damage a second, and that's without my weapon power buff up. So if I use a weapon power, it's going to do a lot. Once it's down, you're going to do the same sort of thing. So there's a rapid strike. See, right before it goes off, you're going to hit the 4 key. Which, that, right there. So what that does is register a full heavy attack, but it doesn't have the whole duration like it does otherwise. So you're getting basically a full heavy attack for the time it takes to just do a light attack. So we're going to try it again. We're going to hold it down, 4. Hold it down, 4. Hold it down, 4. Right there, 4. And it's basically like you're keeping up another dot. It's harder to pull off, but if you get down at mastering it, you can do a ridiculous amount of damage more. And all I'm doing is just holding my mouse down and hitting 4 at the right time. And I'm not even doing anything. And it's almost at, what, 9,000 DPS a second? So, yeah, that does a lot of damage. Oops, don't do that. So there we go. Some Ophalias. That is doing, what is it? Almost 1,000 damage a second. So if you maintain that, that's an extra 1,000. Now to add on to that theory, you're going to do igneous weapons. So that, instead of the Earth and Heart igneous shields, now you become more dependent on a healer instead of using your igneous to survive, or the igneous shield to survive. You're using igneous weapons instead. You're going to be more dependent on a healer, but it does a ridiculous amount of damage. Plus, you're doing the heavy attacks. It's going to be charged as a full heavy, so you don't have to recast this all the time, allowing you to do a lot more damage. So let me show you how this looks. Okay, so for this, on this croc, what we're going to do is keep up our igneous. Now, we're not going to do other buffs just for the sake of this video. And it's going to keep reapplying our igneous if we do that 4 thing right there. See how igneous is refreshing? So basically you never have to recast it, and you get the permanent bonus to your weapon damage. So right there we're spiking at 10,000, almost 1,000 damage more a second, and we're not having to reapply it. So those are 2 tips that can help you if you're looking for a more advanced build, but just realize it's harder to pull off, it's going to take a lot of practice, but the top side is tremendous, probably the most damage in PvE if you can pull these things off. A couple other things we need to discuss with this build is champion points and or which race you should take and why. Champion points, more of the same here. Really, I think that it depends on what you want to do. If that's your Maelstrom Arena, I go with more recovery because I use a recovery food. But reduced cost is probably the best solution for PvE. And the reason why, you're using potions and you're using Battle Roar to get back your resources. So the lower it costs, the better. But for me, if I take about, 20 to 30 points away, I'm only losing about 2% on the reduced cost, and I get a lot more recovery. So that's how I use it. A couple other things you want to do is I put some points into Elemental Expert. Reason being, a lot of my damage is flame and not physical, so it makes sense for me to put some points in it here. Now, I haven't experimented with this too much, but Blade Expert is something you want to think about using, specifically if you're using igneous weapons, doing a lot of heavy attacks. This can add a lot of damage. Now, I do use 1 axe, so that would be something different, but you could always change it up. But anyways, this is something that you might want to put points into and experiment. Probably costs a lot of gold to experiment, so I haven't done it so much. I still use Mighty. I like to spin to win. I do have a lot of physical damage, so this is good for me. Extra crit damage. It makes sense to use this along with the Shadow Munda Stone, so my crits hit extremely hard. Though you could do a lot of different things with your champion points. I highly recommend the Elemental Expert though. It does do a lot of damage. Your priority should always be in this tree, at least to get 30 points to unlock your weapon critical rating. That's what you want to focus on priority number 1 if you're low on champion points. I still go with Unchained, even though I'm doing PvE. A lot of PvE mobs will still stun you. And Unchained allows me to basically cast a stamina ability or 2 within 3 seconds free. Almost. So I'll use this to recast my Razor Caltrops if I get stunned, kind of as a free cast since it costs so much. Or something else like Scorched Earth. Hardy, Elemental Defender, a good split here, and then Thick Skin for damage over time. However way you split it, I don't know what the best is. This just works for me. I'm going to go over to Quick Recovery. I like increasing healing receive, especially if I'm playing Vet Maelstrom Arena. It really comes in handy. So I like this build setup where I can do anything. Dungeon Trials, Vet Maelstrom Arena, though it is a lot harder doing Vet Maelstrom Arena with the Burning Butcher in comparison to the Brutal, but it does a lot more damage, and that's kind of the upside of the build. Now, when you're talking about race, you really need something that benefits from stamina. So Dummer does, you have the max magic, max stamina with dynamic. Orcs also have something similar, but it's max health and max stamina. Imperial have a bunch of max stamina, and Imperials have getting health back, which is nice for this particular build. Probably the most damage is going to come in the form of Khajiit with crit or the Red Guard with max stamina and a lot of regeneration. Imperial's a good choice as well. Orc is kind of interesting and fun, but it's not as good. Dumber, you know, iffy. But any other race than those, you're probably not going to get a benefit to this build. Can you still play it? Yes. Can you still have fun? Yes. But the answer is, do you want to get the most out of this build? And after playing stamina on Magicka races and Magicka races on stamina races, the damage is different and a little bit more. But what you really miss out on is the regeneration. So max stamina and those sorts of things are helpful, but the regeneration really, really helps. So Khajiits have stamina regeneration, definitely Red Guards, Bosmers, all those races do, and you're going to want something with max stamina. So Dumber is an ideal race because you can switch back and forth between magic and stamina and not be so penalized. So if you're looking for something that's versatile, I really, really, really recommend a Dumber. I think it's just the best for versatility. And so that's the updated build. What you can do is use this build or the old version until you get the Maelstrom weapons, and then switch once you get the Maelstrom weapons. Or if you like this idea, you don't have to have the Maelstrom weapons. It does work instead, and you don't have to use a 2-piece. If you don't have 2 pieces or anything, what I like to recommend is you can use Night Silence as a 4-piece set. So you'd have your head, shoulder, your weapons, so you'd always get the 3-piece stamina recovery no matter what you have on there. Max stamina, weapon critical. You can use Night Mother's Gaze, a bunch of different combinations here that still produce good results. Or you could use that new set, the more Colden set. Either way, you really want to have the 5-piece Hunting's Rage, the agility. You could go with the 5-piece Briarheart, 5-piece Hunting's Rage, but this works for me. So upside of the build is right now it's one of the strongest, and that's due to the Maelstrom weapons. Downside, it's harder to play, a little more complicated, a lot more bar swaps, but you just do a ridiculous amount of damage. So if you're looking for a more advanced build, I hope this helps you out, specifically doing the heavy weaving. It's really hard to get a hang of, but the upside is a lot of fun. So let me know if you guys like this build. In the comments, please subscribe if you want more of this sort of content. Still working the Templar tank and more best in slot. So I appreciate your donations to in-game items. Keep them coming if you want more best in slot videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you around.